Hey there, we're the Westlaw Pirates and welcome to the show. We're here to share our thoughts on Northwestern athletics and college sports with thoughts and analysis from the visceral to the statistical. We run our tailgate with the red pirate flag flying high above as we give no quarter, especially the fourth. I'm Sam Walter.
I'm John Lacombe.
And I'm Eric Scaspo.
Well, guys, a little bit later than we'd hoped coming off the big Lacrosse Final Four. Kind of as the spring season winds down, we find ourselves, kind of needing to take a moment and recharge a little bit. So, tonight we're going to recap, the lacrosse. We got some other news and notes, and then we're gonna take a few weeks off, kind of recharge the batteries, kind of catch our breath as we've had this season has been, to call this past, school year wild is selling it short.
I was thinking about almost exactly a year ago, we had John Cherna on the pod, kind of as we headed into that summer. That seems like it was 5 years ago. I can't... I remember we came back in midsummer and being like, we're going to get into the old Big Ten previews, and then the world exploded. And I think we all of you listening too, and that was 10 months ago, and wow. I mean, here we are. Here we stand. What an absolutely insane wall-to-wall year that we all went through together. We made it. And that's not to make it sound like it was all negative. I mean, we were all familiar with what the low lows and the high highs were. It's been just an insane year of peaks and valleys. And right, this weekend kind of marks the end of that.
Yeah, so let's get into this past weekend. I mean, the Final Four, Northwestern versus Florida. Cats beat Florida in what, that was just a slugfest. 15-11. It was just tight the entire way, and Cats kind of pulled away late. But
I want to give a shout out to Maggie Hall from Florida, who's someone that even we and no one in Northwestern Nation knew other than name coming into the Final Four. I want to give her props for taking Northwestern Nation from 0 to Zach Edey in the course of a single lacrosse game. Man, does she get the hate out of you. Wow.
It really only took a quarter.
Yeah.
But you got to give her, some credit too. Like that Florida team, and she was, the bona fide leader, hands down. Got them, critical goals many times during the course of that game. Never say die. That Florida team. And coming out of half, you saw the Cats really, settle down, stake themselves out to a 12 to, I'm sorry, not 12, 10 to 6 lead, right? Like they extended the lead coming into the third quarter. Or maybe I'm thinking the beginning of the fourth.
It was 9-9.
It was almost deadlocked.
It was 10-9 at the end of the third quarter, and the fourth quarter is when the Cats pulled away. Went on a 4-goal run. They were up 14-9.
But they were up earlier in the game. They got up like 3, and it felt like it was starting to go away from Florida. I'm pretty sure this was in the third.
Second quarter, Madison Taylor got her second in a row. They ran up 5-3, 6-4 on an Izzy Skane, and then Florida came to tie it back up. I mean, Cats only had a 1-goal lead at halftime.
Yeah,
right.
Well, so sorry, where I'm going is I felt like Northwestern several times during the course of the game, and I cannot remember all of them, right? But would get out to 2 goals, and Florida would just kind of pull them back in. You described it as a slugfest, Sam, and it really felt that way. It felt like, and it also simultaneously felt like Northwestern was the better team, and they were struggling with turnovers. Florida's pressure defense was really, really good, and caused some uncharacteristic turnovers from Northwestern. And then they just had this willpower on the offensive end. And, give them credit. But yes, in the end, Northwestern did pull away in pretty fantastic fashion in that final stanza.
Yeah, I mean, like lost in the Hall piece of it, and again, Hall has we mentioned Edie because she's the perfect blend of it. There's the dude from Penn State hoops last year whose name's escaping me right now, but it's that perfect blend, right? Of someone who A is really really good, B really really physical, and C really really interested in selling contact and flopping. And that's a combination that just will inspire loathing in the opposing fan base. And whatever. I mean, she's their best
Every
player. I
time.
mean, she knows exactly what she's doing, and she was also really really good. And it's someone who certainly inspires furor in the opposing fan bases, and I'm sure everyone from their conference is well aware of this, and we just weren't aware of it. But I mean, like, not to take away, she's the best player on a really good team, and we talked about going in how we were super nervous about having to play this team and all the shared history and everything going on, and that they were a really good team. And it was really tight. I mean, I feel like this tournament, but I mean, this season, we've talked about it multiple times, laid out how many unbelievable lacrosse teams there are this year and how hard it was going to be, given all that, for any team, no matter a team as good as the Cats, to repeat as national champions 2 years in a row. And man, they came as close as you can possibly come.
Yeah, that Sunday against Boston College. I mean, Cats get out to a 6-0 lead after the first quarter, and it was like, wow. Boston College didn't score a goal until 20 minutes into the game. But after they cracked the shell, they just started pouring it on, and then all of a sudden it's like now it's a game. And credit to BC that they took one on the chin early, and they crawled and clawed their way back in, and it seemed like almost like Northwestern had kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit, and went into like full on drain the clock, kill the clock, protect the lead mode. And then when BC just won a few draw controls in a row and tied it up, took the lead, then to turn it back on that late, it was hard. But even so, to have an opportunity on a free position with 10 seconds left, 15 seconds left in the game, a free position with an ungodly great save by the BC goalie with her ankle on Dylan Amante, who is just clear. To keep the game, to keep BC with a 1-goal lead, and that was, as they say, was that. But like all the credit to them. I mean, they played an incredible game, came back from that early deficit, and tip your cap.
I wasn't able to watch. I actually the most of the most part of this game I watched was during a thunderstorm rain delay during the Cincinnati Reds LA Dodgers game that I was attending that afternoon. But I didn't feel like Northwestern took their foot off the gas as much as BC just like really brought out another level of intensity in the second half. And Northwestern, like they missed a number of opportunities, but BC just kind of seemed to be able to get them in a swivel, and it was tough sledding. But that final goal you're talking about, Sam, or that final opportunity, that play, and I want to diagram it for folks.
Was incredible,
because I've seen them run that several times now, and it is spectacular. Basically, Kuykendall has a 8-meter attempt from the left side, and sometimes she fakes like she's going to pass. Sometimes she fakes like she's going to shoot. And basically, Amante gets a free run inside the arc, and Kuykendall just flips it to her, and Amante blasts from point-blank range. And usually it goes in. I can't remember if it was against Florida or if it was the previous round against Penn where they did it to just incredible effect, and it's such a nasty play because Kuykendall does it like no look. She's not looking at Amante when she throws it, and the defense is completely bewildered. And it came, a heartbeat away from tying the game, and it it sucks in the moment, but you got to give credit. I mean, this is 3 years in a row, 2 heartbeats from 3 national championships.
Right. It's amazing, and I think I was thinking about that after the game, that I'm so happy that there's no one who had to play in that North Carolina game 2 years ago and this game who does not have a national title.
Yeah.
Everyone who has played in those two, that's as two losses as rough as you could have to endure. But everyone who had to endure both of those won a national title in the middle. And I think how lopsided the national title game last season was almost kind of is weird, because it has a way of kind of coloring this BC thing. Because the bottom line is, like, this was a game between two teams that were both ranked number one at one point this past season, right? They hold combined 3 of the last 4 national titles, and they've met in each of the last 2 national title games. I mean, over the past 4 years, these are the best 2 teams in women's lacrosse. And they met in this titanic slugfest. And I think, you mentioned the turnovers against Florida. Northwestern played really sloppy lacrosse through the second and third quarters of that Florida game. They had as many turnovers in this entire game as they had just in those 2 quarters of the Florida game. It was just the fact that the Cats got up early has a way of obscuring the fact that by the total measure of these 2 games, this was about as even as 2 teams could play. They were even on draw controls, almost even on turnovers, right? And it's just the 2 best trading haymakers, and it was that close. It was the 2 best went head-to-head, and ultimately the airborne ankle of the Boston College goalie was the difference in a national title game. I mean, it was that close. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and hats off to Izzy Skane. 5 goals in that national championship game, takes home the Twarton Award for the 2nd consecutive season. God, I mean, when one of the best lacrosse players ever, spends 5 years playing for your team, you hate to see her go, but the fact that you've got Madison Taylor, who's going to be just right. I mean, you can't take Izzy Skane's, you can't replace Izzy Skane, but Madison Taylor is just as special, and we've got her for another 2 years. So, like,
yeah, I mean, maybe before we focus on Madison, like,
for sure,
we got to celebrate Izzy a little bit. You mentioned repeat Wharton Award winner. I think she's the 6th player. I forget. I saw it in the article earlier today, but like the 6th player that's ever won 2. We've been talking about the goals record all year. Ended up 18 goals clear of Charlotte North, who I felt really bad for during the Final Four, because had to spend Charlotte North was the second color analyst in the booth and had to spend a significant amount of time talking about Izzy Skane, not exactly breaking her record, but being the all-time goal scorer, which meant having broken Charlotte North's record, which I thought was somewhat amusing. But I like the thing that stands out most, though, is in the post game of the national championship, and whether it's in the press conference or what you saw on the field and the immediate post game interviews, Izzy was, I don't know if upbeat is the right term, but she talked about, people kept coming up to her and saying, "Hey, are you all right? Like, wow, you're smiling," like, and just talking about, like, it sucks to lose this game, but the experience has been amazing. And this team, this school, like my teammates, the people I've come into contact with, and then she and Kuykendall talked about that. Well, Kuykendall talked about that, and Izzy said, "Yep, ditto," in their post-game press conference in front of the media. But I just like, she is a really special player, not just on the field, but to bring that kind of poise and perspective afterwards really puts the whole thing in context and tells you everything you need to know about the culture and the camaraderie of this squad.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a legendary generation of players. I mean, we talked about it with softball, that group that, that just finally is finishing up, right? That special group that was all together for 3 or 4 years. And this group for lacrosse is an incredible group, right? I mean, Kuykendall is, the conductor, one of the greatest. I mean, Northwestern coaches call her like the smartest on-field player that they've ever had on that team, which is like unbelievable. And Dylan Amonte, unbelievable player. And And then like Lindsey Frank, this transfer who was so good in the NCAA tournament for us. And then we're going to find out, I guess, with like Carly Mahoney and Kendall Halpern. I think we're kind of like getting to the point, right, where we're all wondering, all right, so like, are we still in that zone of like COVID eligibility? Like, are we still, as a senior, have like another year? How is that all going to play out? Like, I don't know. But then at the end of the list is quite possibly maybe the greatest lacrosse player ever. I mean, Izzy's in the conversation. 2-time Tewaaraton winner, all-time leader in goals. They showed during, I think, the Florida game, the active leader in men's lacrosse goals right now. And basically, like, for point of reference, if you took his career goals as of right now and then gave him all of Madison Taylor's career goals right now, he still wouldn't be close to Izzy Skane's career goals. That's how many goals Izzy has. And the player took, again, to win the Tewaaraton twice, to set the all-time record. And again, for all of that, I mean, we talked about, then there's the presence of just what it feels like to watch her play lacrosse in person and how incredible it is and how you feel like you're watching something special. It's huge. And this group, I mean, they're going to go out. You get greedy because the team was so good coming this season and we knew they were going to have a chance to repeat and they got so close. These are national champions who played for a number one ranked lacrosse team multiple years, and we're the very best. I mean, this is one of the greatest groups of players that's ever going to come through this school. And yeah, like Sam said, there's a lot of talent still on deck, right? Sammy White, Sam Smith, Maddie Taylor, I mean, that's just to begin with. Like, this team is still stacked, but what a group we are waving goodbye to here.
Yeah, I mean, and, the future is bright. I mean, you got Madison Taylor, who, she finishes the season with 83 goals, fifth most in a single season in Northwestern history. So like I said earlier, you can't replace an Izzy Skane. Madison Taylor is gonna, she's gonna be the best she can be, and like now she's the leader of the team, and we'll build. She'll be the focus, and it's gonna be awesome. Like the fact that she was able to get 83 goals with Izzy Skane on the field, getting 88 goals this season, it's incredible. And like,
I mean, not to take anything away from Taylor, but it does help. No. It does help when you're the third option, right? And I think it was in the first half of the Florida game, because Florida was paying all of the attention to Izzy and Kuykendall, and then Madison was kind of like, hey, you guys, and dropped a couple scores. And the announcers commented on that almost immediately. And again, that's not to take anything away from her. She becomes the focal point next year. She's certainly...
Absolutely.
She'll
be viewed as one of the best in the country. Right?
Yeah, and she's talented enough. She's experienced enough to take on that mantle. And I think when we had Noah on a few weeks ago, like he talked about just her speed and her ability to break other players down one-on-one. And what this is... In softball, we've gone through kind of two eras of players and are now into the next era, which was, we were so excited this year that they got as far as they did, and they went to they got the third championship in a row, even being on the third era of Jerohan's development and team building. And now in lacrosse, I mean, I don't know if we're on era 7 or 8. I mean, I have to go back to look, Gelman and Smith and Taylor Thornton and
all the coaches of all the teams we play now.
Yeah, exactly. All the awesome players that have won the Tewaaraton for Northwestern and kind of the teams that have been built up around them. But even just recently, right? Like you had the Celino Lesotho years where Northwestern came so close to winning another championship, and then this Kuykendall Skane Low Liberty era, and now the next era begins, and it's going to be on Kelly Monty-Hiller and her staff to identify like who takes that Kuykendall role of setting the table and running the point, if you will. Who takes, Skane was such a unique player in her power, not just her shot, but her physicality and ability to drive toward the net and score. Taylor is much more of what I would call a slasher. I don't know if that's even an appropriate term in lacrosse, but watching her, it's what reminds me of. She slashes off the wing, and she's so fast and skilled that she can take you apart. But you're going to need other shooters, if you will, like a Skane, et cetera, on the outside to help establish space for her next year. So these are the things that they're going to have to figure out. Defense comes back pretty strong. Obviously, Goal is going to flip with Liberty graduating, so they've got a rebuilding task on their hands. But we've seen Kelly Amonte-Hiller do that, time and time again. So it's exciting to see this program. It still feels like they're on top, even though they didn't win this year. To your point, John, these are national champions that came within a hair's width of repeating as national champions, defending their title in the final game of the year. Like, it's the best possible place to be building from.
Absolutely. The one other play you mentioned her a couple times, and I did specifically want to drill down because I forgot to mention it earlier. We definitely need to talk specifically about Molly LaLiberty for a second. This is one of the great college athletics success stories of the post-COVID era in terms of transfers. This is someone who played a full career at Tufts and was basically just going to hang up her stick. And her coach was like, you know what? You might be able to get some D1 interest. And she's basically the goalie on the best lacrosse team in the country for the next 2 years. And wins a national title and plays in 2 national title games after having played a career of D3 lacrosse. It's an unbelievable story. It's one of those true Cinderella stories and proof that in today's game, right, like the possibilities are endless. Like, she's someone that every other D3 lacrosse team, like every good D3 lacrosse player in the country is like, you could potentially do what Molly Liberty did. You can be a really good D3 player, and then you can go play at the very highest level of D1. Like, it's 100% on the table. Like, it's incredible. Like, she kind of reset the paradigm for what can be. So, right, huge player to have to replace. But as you said, I mean, we've said this a ton about Carol Drohan, and we can say it about Kelly Amonte-Hiller. When you're, like, literally the best of the best, you find ways. You find ways to recruit awesome new players and plug them into amazing new schemes and continue to succeed.
If you or a loved one is seriously injured by someone else's negligence, hire Kent Simpson of the Simpson Law Group. After over a decade prosecuting murder cases in Chicago, Simpson opened his own firm focused on wrongful death and personal injury cases. He specializes in car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and other transportation accidents, as well as construction accidents, medical negligence, slip and falls, product liability, and more. Millions recovered for clients, no fee unless he wins. The Simpson Law Group, compassion, empathy, and vigorous advocacy. Go to simpsonlawgroup.com or call 312-332-2107 for a free consultation, and go Cats. So that closes the book on the 2023-2024 school season. I mean, finals are coming. But
So a field hockey national championship.
Yep.
A totally unexpected, a football season like no other ever.
Yeah, putting it lightly.
Start,
yeah,
that ended in a totally unexpected winning record and bowl victory. A
coach of the year.
Yeah. And coach of the year. A men's basketball team that not only went to the tournament, but won in the first round again.
And gave the eventual national champions probably the best game that they saw their entire run.
Alabama, but gave the eventual national championships a really good game, whilst being significantly shorthanded. Sure. Beat number 1 in the country again for the second year in a row, which had been never been done before last year. And then this spring of the softball team after departures going to, winning the conference championship and going to the postseason. Lacrosse going all the way to the national championship game. We've talked
about field hockey losing the national championship game in a shootout.
Oh,
in sudden death.
Yeah. Did they lose? They lost the national championship. That's right.
Yep.
In the extra inning shootout.
Yep. I said 1 and I had that wrong. But it's been an absolutely epic year and in some really unexpected bananas ways, which I think has added to the excitement certainly, but also the
exhaustion.
I mean, like I like you said it earlier, John. Like it feels like that interview with John Cherna was 5 years ago, and it's stunning. Well, and then stadium, all the changes with the stadium, all the ups and downs with that. Like it's been
right. How touch and go it all was. Right.
A preposterous 12 months.
Insane. And that's the thing too, is it's not just like you just listed the resume. When you list the resume and everything that happened, it seems just unreal. But as we talked about on Twitter today, it's also the way it unfolded on a week by week basis. Mm-hmm. Take hoops as an example. We all knew from the very beginning that there was no surprise coming into this season like there was the hoop season the season before. Everyone knew the goal is the tournament. We all know about what it's going to take to get in, and we all know about how many games we need to win and when we need to win those games. So the fan base was totally dialed in from the beginning of the season. Games like Dayton, everyone was like totally locked in. Be like, we got to have this. We got to have this. We all know. And one of the only friggin' games we weren't all locked in on was Chicago State, which we lost. And it was like every single thing week to week seemed like it was of titanic importance. And that's not even counting the games that when we beat Illinois, when we beat Purdue, etc. But if you go back and look at the calendar, there were practically no breaks. If you can go back and look at when the big games started to happen in the college basketball season, that was right after the Holiday Bowl. It never stopped, people. It just kept going. Bang, 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 week after week after week. And we talked about that we felt guilty at the time during March because hoops was moving at such a feverish pace that we couldn't focus properly on everything that was going on with the softball team and the lacrosse team. And then the second hoops ended, it just pivoted to that stuff. And those two teams went, softball was playing for and won a Big Ten championship right down to the wire at the end of the regular season. And then softball played all the way. It never stopped. It was just every single weekend there was something that everyone was like, we got to have this. This is a big game. Get up for it. Here we go. We're all wired. And it's you should all pat yourselves on the back, but it's also okay to be like, that was a lot. That was a lot. And we're all really worn down and bedraggled after it.
Yeah. So, as we get into the summer, flip the calendar to June, and, we've got a couple things to kind of, on the radar coming up. We got some more clarification on the seating on the tickets for the football season the next 2 years. We've seen some drawings, some actual drawings, not some, no more guessing. We actually have a seating map, and we have plans. As I looked at this map, I was actually a little surprised to see seats on the east side of the stadium, right up against the lake. Your back is on the lake for those the east side seats. But just kind of looking at the map, you've got a lot of seats behind the end zone, but the north and south end zones, which we knew was going to happen. Just that's how it had to be. But they're expanding the seats on the west side of the stadium a little bit, building a press box where one did not exist. And, it's all coming together, and, season ticket holders are about to undergo this, seat selection process, which has the potential to just be an absolute mess. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how it all goes. But what do you guys think? I mean, we've had a chance to digest this. We've had a chance to actually see the layout to get hype for what's going to be a wild season. We know the first 3 games, 2 of them are night games. We got a Friday night game, and the Duke game got moved to Friday night. I believe Miami, Ohio is a night game as well. Is that no? Eastern Illinois is a night game.
Eastern Illinois is 6:30 tip.
EIU's a 6:30. Right, and then Duke is like a proper night game. That's one of the things we talked about with the Duke game. I was very curious about field hockey in a couple of ways. One, it would be awesome if they could do a day night or afternoon night doubleheader with field hockey and football that day for the Duke game. I don't know if they can make that happen or not, but obviously that's one of the few advantages to field hockey not using the same field, is that there's no risk of wear and tear on the field. Field hockey could play their game and then, you could watch both. I'm also curious, I've been trying to eyeball it, looking at this picture of the stadium, if the souped up west sideline seats in Martin Stadium, if any of those provide viewing out the backside to field hockey, because that would be a pretty cool overlook to be able to watch field hockey from. And I'm not sure if that actually works, but I mean, it would be really cool to do it. It's funny, like you talked about getting hyped up for this. I mean, I feel like we're beating a dead horse on this at this point. You all know how positive we are about this, and then every time there's a new development, like when this picture of the stadium dropped, we're always surprised at the level of negativity and people being like, oh, like how are they going to do this? And like, this is a one-of-one situation. It's a super special thing. And like, we're even trying to figure out, like, we're all like, how do we rope all of our seats together? How do we make sure we all get to sit together? Is this all going to work? And right, like, as you said, like, there's a possibility that this doesn't come off perfectly well, and that, no one gets the exact seats they want or where they get them, and all these things. And look, we're all just going to deal with it, and we're going to end up sitting where we sit. And look, like, you can see, like, not everyone's going to get the perfect seat that they want. There just aren't that many seats like that. It's the experience, right? It's Jesse Marks showing pictures of the lake fill and basically, teasing, but, all but saying, this is where we're going to be tailgating, and being like, tailgating on the lake fill and then walking right into a football stadium there. Like, at some point you have to be like, there are certain trade-offs. It's like, maybe my seat won't exactly be at the elevation or the vantage point that I want for these games that are, and you know what? That's the trade-off for that is every single person I know is going to be like, oh my God, were you at that game? Did you get to tailgate out on the lake and then walk right into that lake stadium? And you're going to be like, yes, I did. Because we're the only people that get to do this.
I'll be honest, I don't feel like this most recent salvo of like designs of the stadium. Rittenberg tweeted out what it looks like, and we've all received it over email as season ticket holders. Like, yes, people are a little bit worried about their seats and how that process is going to work. I haven't seen the same level of negativity as we got earlier when the announcement was first made, and like the casual fan reaction on which 2 months ago was, oh, they're going to play on the practice field, without reading the article. Now, without reading the article, is, oh, it's going to be real cold in November. To which I'm like, I mean, Ryan Field was cold in November too, and also we won't be there. So
right.
I feel like people are coming around. I think for me, the novelty of this, and not novelty in a, oh, we get to go play at Soldier Field, or, oh, we get to go, the Lambeau idea that was,
oh my God,
roundly besmirched by the fan base. There's a novelty to this that serves such an incredible purpose of the atmosphere. And I'm not talking about the in-stadium atmosphere, like the tailgating, being on campus. That connectivity is going to be incredible to experience. And none of us know, none of us have ever experienced football on the lakefront. I mean, I was just thinking about it, John, like it's like Dillo Day on the lake. And really the only thing that comes close is when game day came in 2013, was it? And was on the lake. And that was flipping bonkers. The Ohio State game, Kane Coulter got the first down, all that other
Yep.
rigmarole. But like that game day was bonkers. People were nuts. The atmosphere and everything around was totally off the chain. And we have the opportunity for that for 5 beautiful Saturdays. Well, 4 Saturdays and 1 Friday, this coming fall, and then again next year. And it's unique and it's special, and it's so Northwestern. Like, this is not unique. Like, oh, that's weird. This is the Lakeville. Is there anything more synonymous with Northwestern and campus that you can remember as a student?
No, I mean that it's the Lakeville,
right?
For sure.
And And I think too, like you almost get, maybe we as Northwestern alums, right, or Northwestern students, you can be guilty of getting used to it to an extent. I mean, you never take it for granted. It's incredible. It's this beautiful thing, but we're all so familiar with it and so used to the experience of having this amazing lake that we get, that we've all had the privilege of going to a university next to. But, I was looking and we retweeted it today, but Jordan Knox, I think, and his family were flying into Chicago this weekend, and his dad took a photo of the skyline, and they're from, I think, South Carolina, right? And took a photo and just like capturing like the majesty, like, oh my gosh, here we are. We're back at Northwestern, and this is so cool. We're flying into the city and we're coming in over the lake, and there's the skyline like on the left, and this is incredible. And it's like, right, that's right. For so many people who haven't had this experience, or it's new to them, or they're looking at it, or like this, they didn't grow up here or didn't attend the school, or etc. It's like you can forget maybe like somehow like this is such an incredible, unique thing in all of universities, in all of college football. It's this incredible, unbelievable thing. And I was just we were thinking, it's like Jordan Knox's family's flying in like this and going, oh my gosh, that's right. This is so beautiful. What a place for our son to be able to go to school. And then think to themselves, and I'm going to get to go see games in this particular facility for 2 years and stare at this same skyline that I watched flying in while I watch my son play football. Like, that's incredible. And it's one of those things like none of us should ever take for granted what we've been able to enjoy. And the fact that a lot of people who are not as familiar with that experience or as used to it, as used to how incredible it is, are going to be able to experience it at just maximum volume. It's so cool.
I'm pretty sure I've been to minus the 2 new ones, and Nebraska minus the 3 new ones. Wow, minus all 6, all 8, all 7 of the new ones. If I include the Pac-12 schools, like I've been to every Big Ten campus, and every Big Ten campus, every university campus, frankly, has special stuff.
Yeah.
Things that people love and revere, and that become part of tradition and legend, and all that sort of stuff. Nobody's got this particular feature. Yes, the University of Wisconsin is on a lake. I guess I don't even know if Rutgers is on the water. Nobody else. I mean,
Yeah.
Penn State is in an
We're not
absolutely
losing any
incredible,
popularity
beautiful
contest
setting.
to Rutgers. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're like, I'm not trying to demean other campuses in this way. Like it doesn't compare. I'm sorry, the physical beauty just does not compare, and it's pretty cool. I literally cannot wait to see and experience this.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Have you ever thought about building a Westlaw Pirates-like community for your business? If so, we've got your solution. Teamworks Media, a brand marketing and content company, is here to help you tell your brand story better. Better yet, you can work directly with the founder, Jay Sharman, known on this podcast as Like the Posts. The same expertise he's brought to brands like ESPN, the Big Ten Conference, and Northwestern University are now available to you in an affordable way, directly with this Wildcat superfan. Contact Jay directly at 312-446-9435 or jay@teamworksmedia.com to learn how to elevate your brand story. Yeah, I think as we prepare for that, as we get ready to, embark on just what's going to be a wild, wild season. I mean, I just don't know what to expect. And, we're going to take the next, few weeks or so to prepare, to study the teams coming
Research time, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna take a little time, and we're gonna get everything ready. So when we come back in a few weeks to start our summer previews, where we're gonna look at the expanded Big Ten, we're gonna look at all the teams on Northwestern's schedule, and we're gonna try to figure out what this team is gonna be, what we're gonna look at, and there's a lot of unknowns. I mean, it is all new coaching staff. I mean, we don't know what Zach Lujan's offense is going to look like. We saw what David Braun's defense looks like last year, but now it's Tim McGarrigle's defense. There's a bunch of unknowns on our side of the field. There's going to be a bunch of unknowns on teams coming in, trying to get our head around transfers and who's actually playing for whom. It's gonna be tough, but we're looking forward to it because football season is fast approaching.
Well, and like everyone who's a longtime listener to the pod knows how much pride we take in our Big Ten previews, and this past year, obviously, we had to call a big audible because of everything that happened in the summer in terms of the way that we presented the Big Ten previews and the way that we had to roll those out. And frankly, we're probably going to have to do that again. We're going to have to reinvent the wheel again because the Big Ten was like, hey, how about 4 more teams that you don't have any history with and you don't know anything about? And we're going to have to figure out a way like, how do we prep for those? How do we prep for those teams?
I got a little bit of history with one of those teams.
Yeah, and hopefully we don't get a friggin' juggler coming in.
Just saying.
Tell me. Onside kicks. I don't want to trigger the. We're all familiar with that. With that UCLA history, and of course we've got a little bit of USC history too, obviously, but. These are all teams that, like, true. On a year-to-year basis. I mean, I think you all know, like, when we preview in Iowa, for example, we're baking all of our acquired history of the character and development of that team into that preview, right? When we talk about Nebraska shooting itself in the foot in any given year, we're not just pulling that out of our ass. Like, we have decades of experience baked into that we've covered on a year-by-year basis, right? And this now we're adding 4 new teams where we don't have that, and we're going to have to kind of figure these things out and take it piece by piece. And then there's just the other thing of just how many friggin' teams there are in this conference now. And we're going to have to kind of find a way to still get enough coverage. I mean, we're not going to be able to just go week by week and hit every single one of these teams. It's just like the timing doesn't work out. So we'll figure out the way that we can hit everything and deliver as much information as possible and still make it fit and make it work. So, we've got that all ahead of us starting midsummer.
And obviously, if something major happens, we'll jump on and talk about it. Hopefully,
I just threw up in my mouth a little
bit. Sorry, I'm hammering on wood here, furiously.
Talking about PTSD.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we'll take a little break. We'll be back in a few weeks, and we'll be diving into summer content. And I guess before we go for now, you guys got any final thoughts?
I'll just throw this. We've talked about how we've joined the College Huddle. We talked about this a couple months ago. This network of podcasts that, frankly, covers 80% of FBS. And we haven't done a lot with them yet, but this is, as we go into summer, this is where a lot of those podcasts are starting to wrap up too. But if you're looking for in-depth content on some of our new opponents or familiar opponents, etc., like that's certainly a place we can mine, and I think you'll see us engaging with some of our brethren in that space in the months to come.
For sure. Specific shout out to friend of the pod for all of you longtime listeners, Chris Giannini, who is currently one of the co-hosts of the SEC podcast with College Huddle. Definitely check him out on a week by week basis. All of you who listen to our draft pod, if you've hopefully you should all be listening and wishing you had more Chris Giannini in your life, and that's how you can go get it. And like Scuzz was saying, catch up on the SEC if you're just like I'm knee deep in Northwestern and all things Big Ten. Right, that's how you can branch out. One thing I'll mention from recruiting standpoint, we had one big bit of recruiting news over the past week. We landed the number 1 punter in the country, Nicky DeGancic from New Trier High School. This is a big get, big time punter who considered a bunch of schools, but he always had that tight relationship with Northwestern, and I think Northwestern was always a leader for him. obviously, like, that's right in his backyard. We were joking, like, this is a guy from New Trier, got a lot of experience of, punting with that wind coming off the lake. So there you go. He's going to get at least 1 year potentially out at that lakefront facility. So, he may be well attuned to it. But obviously, I mean, I think the Milkman made us very familiar, if we weren't already familiar this past year, of just how valuable having a super impact special teams guy can be on your team, and pulling in the number one punter in the nation is a big deal.
For sure. Well, on that note, I guess we'll leave it there for tonight. Head to our website, westlawpirates.com, where you can leave comments, questions. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Hit the like and subscribe, and share it with your friends, because we've got some great content coming up. And we're really, really excited to bring that to you. But in the meantime, you want to reach out to us, westlawpirates@gmail.com. Tune in next time as we give our visceral and statistical views on Northwestern athletics, and look for us in the West Slot of Bryant Field flying the red pirate flag, because we give no quarter, especially the fourth. For John Lacombe and Eric Skasbo, I'm Sam Walter. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.